Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another week and another episode of Unscripted, where we bring you professionals from all walks of life. We touch on their backstory, their mindset, and how they navigate through adversity and opposition. I'm your host, Akeem Haynes. Now, real quick, before we get into this week's episode of the show, do us a huge favor. Head over to Apple Podcasts, Apple iTunes, Spotify, Chartable.com, and leave a rating and review of the show. When I last checked, we had about 26 reviews on there, and I appreciate those who have taken the time. And if you got a quick second before you listen to the episode, if you haven't already, just go over there and do us that favor. It goes a long way in moving the podcast forward. Man, this week on the show, you might have seen him at West Virginia torching DBs and defenses, right? He's the number 2 receiver behind Randy Moss for most touchdowns in one season. He was drafted in the 3rd round by the St. Louis Rams. And their name has changed. It's the LA Rams now. He's an entrepreneur, a speaker, among many other things. He's also a survivor. Stedman Bailey joins me on the show. I remember watching Stedman when I was in junior college. Shout out to Barton Community College and all the junior college athletes out there. You kind of always heard about the Alabamas, the LSUs, the Florida States, the Notre Dame. But I remember hearing about West Virginia during my time there, right? And the amount of points that this school was putting up and the receivers that they had. And so I started to tune in, and I felt kind of attached to them a little bit because they weren't necessarily these genetic freaks like the running backs or the receivers. They were all athletic, talented, but looked kind of like my size. But they showed up and they showed out. And I remember watching Stedman, Bailey, Geno Smith, Tavon Austin, Steve Slayton in 2012, right? And the season Stedman had in 2012, I mean, the dude had more touchdowns than some quarterbacks, right? That is a tremendous campaign for him, and we talk about that as well too. Look, in this episode, we touch on a lot of things. We touch on his childhood. We touch on his high school career, how he got himself recruited to a camp that he wasn't invited to. We talk about his transition from the collegiate ranks, from high school to the collegiate ranks, how he met his father in prison at West Virginia for the first time. We talk about his motivation in the game of football. We talk about when he was drafted to the NFL, his first few years in the league, the adjustments. We talk about the incredible story of the incident that impacted his life. We talk about fatherhood, entrepreneurship. We talk about business and the impact that he's trying to create in this stage in his life. Truly, truly an inspiring and touching story. I know I was touched by it when I first heard the incident that came up on the news, but just hearing it from his mouth speaks so much more volume, and I believe this is an episode that you will truly enjoy, and I believe you will get a lot from it. So without further ado, enjoy this week's episode with Stedman Bailey. What's going on, man? You can hear me okay?
Yeah. Good morning, brother. Good morning. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, man. How you doing, man? How's everything over there? Where you living right now?
I'm in South Florida, so I'm in area called Miramar.
Oh man, we used to run at that track down there.
Anson. That's the name of the track. But yeah, I go over there and work out all the time.
Oh yeah, that track is fast, bro. Man, I appreciate you coming on, bro. I'm looking forward to this conversation, man. We have much to discuss, man. We're gonna go a whole bunch of different ways throughout the conversation, bro. But I actually want to start here, man. I'm big on gratitude. I believe it's very hard to be negative when you're grateful for what's in front of you. And oftentimes the things in front of us, we often take for granted because, it's we're used to it. It's comfort. So what are 3 things you're grateful for today, man?
First and foremost, I'm grateful for life.
Hey, come on now.
Right? I'm grateful for life, man. I'm alive today. I know it's a lot of people that didn't wake up today, so I'm grateful for life, man. I'm grateful for family. I actually just got a chance to go to a field trip for my son.
Oh yeah, where to?
Yeah, this morning I got a chance to go to and basically they had a carnival going on at the school, and just being able to be there with my son and to see his happy face and, just all the kids having a genuinely good time, super satisfying for me. And then lastly, bro, I would say I'm grateful for God's grace.
Hey, man, I'm already ready to go, man. So you mentioned you're still in Florida, man. Originally, you're from Miami, Florida, in the Coral City area, if I remember correctly, man.
Coral City.
What was that environment and dynamics like growing up, man? What were you seeing at that young age around you?
I would say it was a pretty challenging upbringing for me. For the most part, it's a minority-based community, so just about everybody in my community looked like myself, which was cool. Nothing was wrong with that, but I got a chance to be exposed to different things as far as crime early in my life. Whether it was gun violence, whether it was home invasions, a lot of different things that take place within minority-based communities. I was exposed to it pretty early. So I would say it was challenging just in the sense of just trying to keep my focus as a young kid with a vision of wanting to get out of that community. I wanted to make it out of, my upbringing and just ultimately make a better life for my family.
Man, sometimes the community or our mothers or fathers or grandparents, grandmothers, cousins, aunties, sometimes they tell you certain things at a young age that you may not be able to understand at the beginning. And sometimes what they tell you is something that travels with us. For example, me growing up in Canada, but I was born in Jamaica, so I saw a bunch of different things. But my grandparents and my mom and my community would always tell me, I was like, man, you could do something here, but you have to know that you have to stay focused and you have to guard your mind from distractions. But as a kid, you're not really thinking too much about that because it seems like everywhere is a distraction. But Stedman, what were some things that maybe someone instilled in you directly or indirectly that kind of stuck with you throughout your childhood and even now?
Well, I want to say when I was about 12 years old, I was playing Little League football, and I just finished having a really good, I guess I was playing like 125 pounds at the time. That was the weight division.
Yeah.
I just pretty much finished having a pretty good season, and after each season, we would always have a banquet award. And of course, for the most part, everybody pretty much gets a certificate for, just your time and coming to be a football player.
Yeah.
And, I remember vividly one of my coaches, they would call each one of us up name by name, one by one. And for the most part, he'll shake your hand, give you a certificate, and, you just kind of keep on walking. But when my name was called, he said to the audience that to remember my name because you'll, hear it in the future. And that really stuck with me. And from there, it kind of made me really feel like, okay, I guess I really do have what it takes to pursue the dream of making it to the NFL.
Man, when did you start taking football seriously, right? Because, as kids, man, sometimes you don't really know what you got, right? You playing football or you playing basketball, you running track or whatever you're doing, you're just doing it for fun, right? Somebody say, hey, I'm faster than you. You're like, prove it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we go right now. We don't got to go nowhere. There's 100 meters right here on the street. We can prove it.
Absolutely.
But when did you start taking it seriously?
I want to say once I probably got to high school. For the most part, I knew just about after my second year of organized football, once I really started to understand the game and be able to apply the IQ side to my athleticism and actually become a really good football player. I was really pretty much always one of the better guys on the team, any team that I played on. So, I never really looked at that as too much. But, well, for one reason was because I was playing at a park that, for the most part, we would make it to the playoffs, but never better than the second round. So it's like, okay, I'm super talented, but maybe, I'm not playing against the best competition within our little inner city. So just before I got a chance to go on to high school, I decided to leave the park that I pretty much grew up on and go to a park that was considered to be a little more advanced.
Yeah.
They were known to have a little more ballers than what I was used to. So I wanted to, up my competition. I've always been a competitive kid, like you say. Anybody call you out and say, "Hey, let's race." You got it with me.
Yeah.
And I hope you got, I hope you got some speed, because I was always a kid that was, faster also. But like I say, once I got to high school, I started to be exposed to newer things like different Nike camps, and colleges would invite you to different camps to come and showcase your talents. And for me, I was never invited to any of these camps, but
Mm.
I pretty much pushed my way in. Right. Um, I started off my high school career down here at Carroll City Senior High, and that's pretty much the high school that was within my neighborhood. And I'm a wide receiver. I was at a school that was a run first offense, and not just run first, but just run all the time. For me, that really just doesn't mix. Now, I'm a team player, and I was able to play varsity as a 10th grader. So
Wow.
I'm just a young pup out here. I'm just trying to, learn the ropes and, just get accustomed to the speed of now playing varsity. But I got a chance to make some plays that year. For a 10th grader, I would say I was pretty proud of myself for, making about 400 yards and scoring, about 5 times. And at that point, I knew, like, okay, I'm a young pup out here and I'm able to kind of tango with these older guys. So I should be good as I continue to progress through high school. And after that season, I kind of made a business decision to withdraw from the school and go over to Miramar Senior High School.
Mm.
Now, over at Miramar, they was running a spread offense,
Perfect.
pass happy, and then they had Geno Smith, who
Mm.
is still right now currently in the league. I think he's a backup over in Seattle this past season. But that was perfect scenario for me. A spread offense. The school was really maybe only about 4 miles away from Carroll City. It was over in the Broward County of South Florida, but nevertheless, not too far. And like I say, just thinking about a new environment, a brand new start. And I also thought from an advantage standpoint that the players over in Broward weren't as competitive or as talented as the kids down in Dade County. So I said, I'm gonna go over here and beat up on these guys. And that's pretty much how it went, bro. I mean, I got a chance to go over there, and me and Gino, we connected due to us going to the same church. Now, our families have known each other for quite a few years, and me and Geno Smith will be sitting in the pews together. I'm at Carroll City as a sophomore. He was playing quarterback varsity over at Miramar. We would exchange our game stories on Sunday, right after the Saturdays that we got a chance to play. So we probably should have been listening to the word, but quite frankly, we was exchanging stories, man, and just ultimately just talking about coming together. And I kid you not, man, it's like God spoke to me back then and said, hey, we're going to go this direction and it's going to work out for your greater good. Now, my mom, she graduated from Carroll City Senior High back in the 70s, and she was a diehard Chief. That's what we were, Carroll City Chiefs. So when I went to her to just kind of ask her, hey, I got a vision about going over here to Miramar and it's for football purposes, she actually thought I was trying to duck some smoke at varsity from Carroll City. And I'm like, no, Mom, the way I see my career, my path, I need to be somewhere where, they're going to be throwing a ball. And she just wasn't with it at first. She thought I was trying to transfer for all the wrong reasons. And ultimately, she just kind of just let it go and was like, all right, we'll give it a shot. And truth be told, I got over there and, first year, me and Geno Smith, we connected up and I went for like 1,000 yards within my first year.
Yeah.
Double digit touchdowns. And, I'm starting to receive letters just colleges saying that they see me basically. That just was so thrilling to me, like, hey, I got a couple letters coming here from UM, a couple from FIU, a couple of the local schools just saying that they have me on their radar. At that point, I knew I got a chance to actually go and play, at least at the next level, college. Mm-hmm. NFL still was kind of, a far-fetched thought.
Yeah.
But I'm a guy that I always thought, just take everything one day at a time. And, I had a really good junior year over there. And Geno Smith, he get invited to all the camps. He was one of the top quarterbacks in the country. And here I am, we good buddies on and off the field. And I would ask him, hey, you got invited to the UM camp. They didn't send me no mail, but I'm going to come with you. And we'll end up falling in situations where there will be competitive one-on-one drills. And I'm just lighting everybody up.
Man, that's yeah. That's a. And I'm gonna ask you about the high school transition, but man, you said a couple things, brother, that I want to go back to. Man, I think one thing is evident, right? Is oftentimes as we are born, we don't necessarily get to control what we were bred into, right? The environment, our parents, we don't get to control any of that. I'm a firm believer, bro, that hope needs to be seen and shown, right? For it to be believed. You were talking about the environment that you grew up in wasn't necessarily conducive to have certain hope when you're seeing the crime and stuff around you. When I first got to America, man, I never really understood how people really love their city like that, right?
Yeah.
They go hard for the city. Especially Texas boys, Texas people, they be going heavy for the city.
Yeah.
But in that environment, man, oftentimes if we can see something, if we can touch something, we can kind of be like, man, if they made it out of here, then maybe we can too. In Florida, when you were coming up, was there someone that you look up to that maybe came from the same parts that you came from, that you said, you know what, if they got out of here, man, then I think there's a chance for me here too? Or were you that hope, or did you see anything differently there?
I would say, I think honestly, I believe that I'm that hope. I mean, when I was coming up, I was able to watch guys like Santana Moss, which he's a former NFL wide receiver who also played at the University of Miami and then also played at Carol City Senior High School back in like the late 90s. I saw a guy like him, just really go to the college level at UM, and there were times that I got a chance to go down to those UM games when they had Sean Taylor and just so many great athletes, so many great guys that ultimately were drafted like in the first, second round. Like, they just had a loaded team. And I saw him just light up the stadium. And I would really think as a kid that, one day I hope I could do something like this. But I mean, the talent that those guys had back then, to me, they seemed like professionals almost to the point where I was like, I don't even think I'll ever be this good to be able to compete on this level. But that definitely gave me motivation as a kid. But like I say, I believe I've been that hope for, a lot of kids that's even now to this day that's still going through the high school process, still living in the Carol City area and maybe going to Carol City and or Miramar. It could be done. I mean, I think it's a really thin line between doing the right and the wrong thing. And that's a lot of challenges that I've faced since a kid, especially in high school when those choices and decisions are a little more critical.
Yes.
Especially if you're trying to go somewhere. I think I've been able to show a lot of kids that, even from where I come from, you can make it out.
Faith requires you to move. It is a belief in something bigger than yourself, believing that God is leading your steps, but also faith requires you to move in order to say that you're moving in faith. What was it in you, man, that said, you know what, I wasn't invited to these camps that Gino's going to. We've been playing together. You know, I'll be putting up numbers, but it's like they're not seeing me. Like, but I'm here. But what was in you to say, you know what, wherever you go, man, like I'm coming? Because a lot of people are not going to do that. They're kind of just going to accept the situation for what it is and roll with it. But what is that? Where does that faith to go come from you?
Well, you know what? I would say that ever since I was a kid, I can remember since maybe 7 years old, I've been saved. I've been saved. I knew who God was as my Lord and Savior from a really early age. So I was raised in the church, heard all the stories about what it means to have faith. I would say in my high school days, um, that was me operating on faith without me actually knowing it.
Yeah.
Right. So now when I got a chance to go ahead and go to these events and I'm lighting them up and, now I'm getting all this attention and whatnot, I'm starting to realize like, okay, I have faith in myself and, I know the type of talents that God has blessed me with. So, let's go out here.
Yeah.
Let's go give the people what you got.
Yeah.
And then as I continue to progress in life, situations like that, I could always look back on and say like, God, you had me then. So when it comes to having faith, I don't have too many situations that I run into that I, just superiorly break down with worrying.
You come back from the camp, right? And now you're getting all these offers, all these different attentions. Now they're seeing, they're saying Gino, but they're saying Stedman Bailey as well, too, is right there with them, right?
Absolutely right.
And now you're getting the spotlight. And that can be tough to handle as a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid. Like it's different. The times have changed. And I don't think a lot of people are able to, it's not that they don't know how to handle the spotlight or the successes that come from it, but they don't have the knowledge or the experiences or don't want to listen from others that came before them. But I want to ask you, Stedman, at that time, you're juggling attention, you're juggling where you're going to college next, you're juggling your environment, you're juggling trying to stay focused. As a young adolescent, where were you mentally with your own personal development of figuring out who you were away from the sport? Right? Because one of the questions for me was like, me as a dual sport athlete running track and football, I was getting recruited to go to college in America, but I was from Canada, so it was kind of a bigger deal. But I was just like, man, would they still recruit me if I wasn't like this? Would they still like me if the sports was gone? And so I was always trying to seek like, man, who am I away from the sport from an early age? But, you were more of in the spotlight than me, but where were you in your personal development stage as a man at this point?
You know what, bro? I'm gonna first and foremost say thank God for growth. Right. I want to say back in those days, I probably was stuck within the identity of just looking at myself as really not too much more than a star athlete. Right. I mean, my grades were okay. I kind of was going through jock phases, to be honest. Just kind of going through the movement and just almost just having a mindset of just do almost just enough to make sure you make it to where you need to go, which was the next level. Now, when I look back on it, I do have some regrets because had I took my grades more seriously, applied myself a little more, not have been the jock, because I'm a very, intelligent dude, but like I said, I was on jock vibes. I had like offers from Florida, UF. I think that's a school that I may have probably wanted to go to a little more outside of West Virginia, which is where I did go. Now, West Virginia was God's plan.
Mm.
But University of Florida was a school that definitely had my heart within that time and space within my life. 2007, 2008, they were on top. They had Tim Tebow, Percy Harvin.
Yeah, they were stacked.
They won a national championship, and they were, really on top. So, of course, that was something that I wanted to be a part of. Now, once again, my grades weren't the best to hold on to the scholarship offer that they had, so they ultimately had to pull that back.
Why West Virginia, man? How'd you get there? Because the sun probably isn't hot like it is in Florida, man.
Oh
It's
no, it's
there,
the
it's cold.
total.
But why'd you pick there? Because I mean, you went there. Gino was there as well too. Tavon Austin was there as well too. Like the squad offensively was fire. But why did you pick there, man?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting. Sometimes I kind of still ask myself why, but as I know it, like I say, that was God's plan. But I got a chance. I would speak about the camps that I was going to down here in South Florida. Some that was at some was at University of Florida. Kind of more so locally. But my former head coach in high school, his name is Damon Cogdell, played linebacker at West Virginia University in the 90s.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Had a really good college career. He didn't make it pro due to injury, but he was one of the first guys from South Florida to, step out of his comfort zone to go somewhere like that and actually succeed.
Mm-hmm.
So, he ended up being my high school coach. So, of course, that has a little bit of influence on me going that way. But this guy was phenomenal where, he would always try to set all of us up as players, to put us in position to have scholarships or just to get seen by the next level. So
Yeah.
the summer of 2006, I believe, we as a team, football team, 60 plus, got on a plane together, flew up to go to the University of Pittsburgh, had a football camp in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
University of Pittsburgh is maybe an hour away from West Virginia. So we got a 2-for-1 special going up there and got a chance to go compete at the Pittsburgh camp, did really well, and then got a chance to go on over to West Virginia. Now at the time, we tore the camp up now. We some South Florida kids, we
Yeah.
come up and going up against their local talent. So it was easy breezy, But I remember looking around, and I remember seeing Noel Devine, who was
Oh yeah,
a
he's
high
nice.
school legend from South Florida. And I remember just looking at him. I think he was a freshman at the time. He was just ripped. And I'm just like, as far as what I was hearing about him, everybody was saying, he was a small guy and that, he'll have trouble at the next level. But like I say, I'm looking at him and he just beefed up. And I'm like, man, it's like they up here working really hard. And I just fell in love with what I saw, not just out of him, but all the players. We got a chance to see them work out, and it just looked like everything that I wanted to be a part of in
Yeah.
terms of putting in some hard work. And, I never really looked at the dynamics of how far I was from home. Not at the time. I just was enjoying myself. Probably was the furthest I've ever been at the time, been away from home. But then I got a chance to go up to West Virginia for my official visit also, when we had to go up there in like late November. It was snowing. It was about maybe under 20 degrees, but I got a chance to go up there with my parents. Well, my mom and my grandmother. My father was absent growing up. We could kind of touch on that too.
Yeah.
And I remember being up there on my visit and sitting in the stands, and I got on some clothes, kind of like I'm still in South Florida. I didn't have on the right swag, and I'm just in the stands looking at my mom freezing, like, man, this not gonna work.
Yeah.
But then I just thought about it like, well, maybe I'm just being soft. You know, I'm looking at the players on the field. They out there with no sleeves on. And I'm just like, I don't know how, but, you know, it just felt like something that I knew would be a challenge. And then, you know, they offered that I would be able to come in and play early too as a freshman. So that's something that's always super attractive for a guy that's, you know, going to the next level. You want to make sure every moment you got counts to being able to put some good stuff on tape. So
Yeah.
that's what attracted me there.
And before we get into the football aspect of your career at WVU, man, when I went to a junior college before I went to University of Alabama, and so when I went to University of Alabama, I had a 3.1 GPA going in, but then when I got to Alabama, like my GPA fell to like a 1.9.
Mm-hmm.
And and I share this story all the time whenever I go and speak, but it's like I wasn't doing anything different. I was still going to class. I was still doing all those things. But what I was not used to was the class size of the school, right? Barton Community College had like maybe 1,200 kids, right? It was small. Every class is like 15, 20 people in it. Like people on a first name basis. But Alabama, you go to I remember my nutrition class had 500 people in it. And I'm just like, the teacher don't care if I'm here or not, right? You're doing clicks in order to check in. And then, certain meets, you're leaving on Monday and you may not compete till like Thursday, but you got to leave because the rest of the team is leaving, right? So I wasn't used to the schedule and the speed of it. And it took me a semester to be able to catch up. What was the hardest part for you about the transition? Because now, bigger school, yes, you're there for football, but you're not playing football every single day, especially when football season is done. That is usually when all of the distractions come in, right? The parties, getting the looks, you getting all these different things, man. So
you're on your own, essentially. Like, what you kind of could go by your own rules almost. But nah, bro, I actually ended up in a really good situation, man. I met what I would like to call an angel from heaven. And my academic mentor, her name was Miss Cecilia, older white woman. Maybe she probably was in her 60s, maybe mid 60s, almost 70, but she was brilliant. She was a person that as soon as I met her, we got a chance to have a conversation just to kind of get a chance to, know one another, warm up to one another. And she immediately told me that I'm smart, and that though I am stepping into a new playing field as far as academics, like I'm gonna be great. Like you'll be great. And that, that really did a lot for me. A kid coming from South Florida, I wasn't sure what to expect in terms of being able to keep up in the college world. But I had her that pretty much helped me put together a really good schedule where I could balance being a student versus when I got to be, focused on being an athlete. And I started out having I was on the honor roll early, bro. I was on the honor roll and I had to take a picture. Picture was up on the wall when you first walk in the stadium, and you couldn't tell me nothing. I'm taking pictures of myself.
Like you're the president.
Taking pictures of myself, and I'm making sure I'm uploading on social media.
Yeah.
Check me out.
Yeah.
A couple of my teachers and stuff counted me out and think I wouldn't be here, but here I am. But you know what, bro? When I first got to school, man, I say that my recruiters at the time was telling me that I would be able to come in and play early. I hit my first step of adversity, my first, opposition, setback, where I couldn't even play my freshman year. My ACT scores were flagged. And so ultimately I had to retake the test. So here I am, thinking like, all is good. I'm in the green light. I made it to college. I got this adversity strike where they say, okay, yeah, your scores were flagged. You got to retake the test. And it was devastating for me because, you know, I'm listening to my coaches, and they had two players prior to me getting to the school that had similar situations of their scores being flagged. They had to retake the test, and they didn't do good. They pretty much failed. And in that situation, you don't pass the test, you gotta go to like a military prep school or like a junior college. You gotta go backwards and go through some other loops, right? So I remember hearing my coaches talking to my mentor and saying like, oh, you know, we need to pretty much call Georgia prep school and, you know, let them know we got a guy coming. So they was basically counting me out. Hold on 1 second here.
Yeah.
They basically was counting me out, bro. And
That's crazy.
I'm like, wow, man. I'm almost believing what they saying. You know, I'm not really having too much faith in me passing this test because, hey, the other two guys didn't make it. I guess, you know, I'm next.
I'm third, yeah.
But my mentor said, hey, man, basically told me, you know, the devil is a lie. You know, we gonna take this test and we gonna pass it with flying colors. So she spoke those words to me, man, and we sat together and we grinded. You know, she kind of helped, you know, prep me on up, which I was already familiar with the test. You know, we just making sure that everything is everything. I had to take the test at the end of the year, which, well, in like December. I got to school in August. I couldn't take the test until December. That's pretty much the whole season that I got to miss. So I remember, man, just kind of being really depressed. You know, I'm up in the academic section and I'm looking out the windows like a puppy, man, just seeing my guys. Gino, he out there throwing touchdowns, and I'm not able to do nothing. So I feel like I'm behind the 8 ball. Dealing with the adversity, you know. But I ended up having, you know, to get to the part of taking the test, and they said I needed to score at least like a 20. So I'm just like, oh man, you know, I should be able to get it. I took so many practice tests and I was getting like 24s. So I ended up taking it, man, and then I got like a 25.
Yeah.
Now you got the coaches, you know, they got a whole different energy when they, you know. And it's like, man, you know, I was really thankful for, like I say, Miss Cecilia, who fed me with, you know, just positive affirmations and told me, man, we got this. I'm here with you. We're gonna study, we're gonna do what we need to do, and you'll be right here, you'll be fine. Now, I think about adversity, you know, adversity causes some men to break and some to break records. Now I was about to break, I was ready to fold.
Yeah.
I was ready to fold until she, you know, spoke those words into me. And I'm like, man, you know, this is an older white woman who actually genuinely cares about me. You know, I was able to feel that connection, and that did a lot for me, kid coming from South Florida. I'm in a whole different environment, you know, and I'm here with this woman who was she felt like she had the love of a mother. So I just followed her lead, and she helped me really, you know, get through a pretty tough first year. But, you know, like I say, that adversity caused me to go on and break every record that they got as far as being a wide receiver.
You know, man, it's crazy, right? Because for me, for one, the SAT is not an okay test for anybody to take. Like it's just like it just messes with you mentally because you got to sit in that room for so many different hours, you know. But it reminds me of like my SAT story, man. It's like I took the test I took the SAT twice and the ACT twice and didn't get the score that I needed. But I had originally signed to go to Florida State, but about a month and a half before everything is kind of going, I get a message that says, you know, one of the maths that I took in the 9th grade automatically ruled me ineligible. So I couldn't go Division I anyway. So it's like the situation of what you just said, man. Adversity comes and it's going to come. All right, it comes to everybody, but it's how you respond to it, man. And your response in 2012, bro, your junior year was ridiculous, man. When you think about the stats, bro, as I was looking at it, because I was at Junior College at the time and I was watching, but when you look at the numbers at the end, man, you had more touchdowns in a year than a lot of QBs, which is crazy on another level. But What was going through your head during that year, man? I'm always interested, and I'm sure our listeners are like, what did you do going into that year? Were you doing sprints? Were you hitting the
And
hills? What were you
hey,
doing?
bro, I'm all about progression. I'm all about knowing that you got to put the work in. You know what I'm saying? If you want to be great. At the time, I had YouTube that I could look at. I
Mm,
would go study Chad Johnson, Ocho. He's a South Florida guy too. The Santana Moss, Antonio Brown at the time. And I would just mimic everything that I saw those guys doing on YouTube in terms of just preparation, how these guys were working on the little things of what it takes to be a great receiver.
yeah.
And I also, going into that year, kind of reverted back to my freshman year when I had to sit out. Now, year 3, 2012, I was a redshirt junior, meaning I have another year of eligibility.
Yeah.
Tavon Austin, true senior. Geno Smith, true senior. We all came in together. I don't want these brothers to leave me, man. We came together.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the circumstances of what's the possibilities. What could the scenario be of next year without my star quarterback, Geno Smith, who's going to make all the throws. I do my job of going to get open. He's going to make all of the throws, no doubt about it. I got Tavon Austin, who was such a dynamic threat that there's no way you can double team any of the two. Like
Pick your
between me
poison.
and him, it's pretty much pick your poison. So, I just really went into that year just thinking, well, I want to do better than I did last year, which I think I got up to about 1,200 yards and like 12 touchdowns, which was the single season record at the time. West Virginia, I had tied it with some other greats,
Yeah.
but I wanted to do better. I mean, every year it's about being better or in a better position than you were last year. So I had another year of just understanding the offense. When my redshirt sophomore year, it was a brand new offense. And that to me was like, okay, I'm just testing the waters. Now I really know what this offense is about. So it's time to really just go apply that to the field, no matter who's out there. Man. Like I said, I didn't want you know what? Tavon Austin fueled me too though. He's so good.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
just so good. And it's like, I remember at times, I would watch the games and I would see like, everybody's looking for what he's going to do. So I got to make sure that the people looking for me too,
Mm,
you know?
yeah.
And going into that year, me and Tavon both were Bolitnikoff semifinalists, meaning we are under the radar to, end up being up for that award if you have a good year. I remember at the time, it was like, oh, okay, that's cool. They looking at me, all right, great. But as I was just going through a year, man, I'm just making my routine plays, just doing exactly what I would do in practice. And it just was adding up, and, God's plan.
Man, sometimes, analysis, and, people will have their opinions on what they think Stedman Bailey's best game was. But I want to ask you, man, what do you think your best game was? What was the game that said, you know what, man, I'm nice out here?
Now, in terms of just saying like, man, I'm nice, I had those kind of moments every game,
Yeah.
honestly.
Come on
'Cause I,
now.
I, I
Yeah.
was, I was going up and down, and sometimes, I would make certain catches that would surprise me, but I'm just so cool, calm, and collect that I just like, yeah, I do this, I keep it smooth. I keep it smooth, but God blessed me with a really great ability to go out and catch the football, man. I got some really big hands, and um, he gave me a really nice platform to put on, man. So um, I had those moments every game, but the one game, of course, a lot of people thinks about it, the Baylor game. We got a final score of 70-63. And you got Geno Smith, who threw for about 8 touchdowns that game, threw for more touchdowns than incompletions, so.
Yeah.
And me, I had the game of my career going for over 300 yards receiving and scoring 5 times. Like, that's what you really do on a video game. I was
Is
happy to
what you
see people
did.
say, yeah, like, hey, I was able to go out and do these things. But, I was also, just I would always kind of look around the country too and see what other guys were doing. I always paid attention to the stats just to make sure my name stays up in a position that I can be in conversation of a guy who's out here wrecking havoc.
It's, I mean, obviously, you smashed records, man. You had 25 TDs, which is just ridiculous in any category. Then you went on to be drafted 92nd overall, man. But, there are times when people can help us ease the decision on what happens next. And I know a lot of times for a male in general, a father plays a big role in that reassurance or just that constant support in that capacity. It plays a big role, man. When you were going into the league, you're hearing so many different things. People are saying what round and this and that, and you're hearing all these different voices. Where were you at that moment mentally from a standpoint of just like, man, this is possibly may change my family's life, but my dad may not be a part of it. What was that situation like for you? How did you handle that aspect during that time?
Well, just handling that situation as far as like, such a big moment for me and not really having my dad to be there. My dad, I grew up with my dad being incarcerated.
Mm.
He had to serve, was actually sentenced to life when I was about 2 years old. So my father was gone from my life ever since then. As I kind of grew up, my mom and grandmother pretty much hid the fact that he was locked away in prison up until when I was about 8. They actually told me what was going on. And I remember just kind of having a shock / like just lost for words kind of feeling when I did learn to understand that he's in prison and he won't be coming home. Didn't really know how to feel. I guess I could kind of say I was numb, because all I ever really knew was my mom and my grandmother. Like, to me, it felt like that's all I ever really needed. Even in situations where I would see kids with their father, like, it never really fazed me. Like, my mom was just always there. I would say when I got to about middle school, then it started to hit me in terms of just like, yeah, I wish I had my father around, because I was starting to go through different things, getting picked on over here and, got swell up over here. Those are things, you could go and talk to dad about. But once again, I'm numb to it. I was like, okay, whatever. Mom is here, and outside of that, just be tough. But, you fast forward, my father was incarcerated in West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
He was in a prison up in Hazleton, West Virginia, which was about 45 minutes away from campus. So when I first went to school, I had learned that he was actually somewhere up in West Virginia, didn't know where, but that kind of influenced my decision also to go up to West Virginia. But when I got up there for school, my mom and my grandmother flew up with me to pretty much drop me off, say their goodbyes, and, hey, I'm on to the next chapter. They took me to go see him, and that was my first time seeing him since he left, which I never really remember nothing to, prior to him leaving, pretty much when I was 2 years old. But pretty emotional moment, man. I think I was able to remain tough. Like, I didn't shed any tears or anything. I was just essentially happy to see my father. No, I didn't really like the circumstances of seeing him come out, with whole suit on, and he's under close surveillance by the guards. That it sucked to see that. I don't want to see nobody incarcerated, but I just was happy to see him. So just being a football player up there, that motivated me also to just go be good. I always thought about West Virginia. They don't have a professional football team, so we, the Mountaineers, are like their pros.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody within the state holds about 1.8 million. Eat, sleep, crap, Mountaineers. You know what I'm saying? So I used to think in a sense of, if I go out here and make some noise, I'm pretty sure they'll talk about me on the radio. Pop should be able to hear some good news.
Yeah.
And believe me when I say, of course I lit it up. From the time I was able to step on the field to make my first touchdown, he was able to pretty much almost be there. I mean, he was in the federal prison, so they got the big televisions in there, and they actually used to kind of everybody sit around and watch the games. And I got the Bailey on the back, you know what I'm saying? That's his last name. So now the guards, showing him a little more love and respect, things and love going a little smoother for him. So I used to do it for him too, man. But going back to your question, as far as him not being there for that particular moment of when I got the call for being drafted, he always kept up very closely to everything that I had going on. Pretty much the guards used to almost help him, feed him information about different things that was going on. So whether he was watching the television to hear my name get called or whatever the case may be, the guards probably let him know right away. And for me, I think I was probably more so just stuck in the moment that I did it for my mom. I made a promise to my mom growing up as a kid that I was going to buy her a new car and a home. I was able to do those things. So within that moment, my wife also had just had my son, Stedman Jr., who was just, a couple months. So I'm just thinking about all those dynamics. Like, I'm a new young father. First and foremost, I made it to live out my dreams. They actually called me to be a part of the NFL, which is dream come true. And then, I got the means to take care of myself, my family, and make my mom extremely happy with some new toys, a couple new things.
Mr. Stedman, man, I want to ask you this, man, and it's a two-part question. As a man who had and didn't have his father in his life, what do you try and instill and show in your son? And the second question to that is, when you look at Stedman Jr., man, what do you see?
Well, when I look at my son, man, I actually see myself. He literally has a lot of my ways, man, from personality to, just kind of how he just moves, and I knew from, very early on, you got the ultrasounds where you can actually now get the chance to see the whole face of the babies, while they're still in the stomach. And I remember when my wife got a chance to go, when she was still pregnant at the time, got a chance to do the ultrasound, and they got a really nice picture of his face. And I just literally was like, wow, that looks exactly like me, just in your stomach. So I was thrilled, man. I prayed for my son, just to actually roll the dice and just, pray that I will have a son, just so I can get a chance to be everything that I wish I was able to have if my dad was within my life. So, just a lot of different principles about adversity, what adversity may look like. The adversity is going to happen, if everybody who's a human being, so I try to let them know about, wins and losses, and just the most importantly, just being there.
Yes.
Like I say, I just got a chance to go to his field trip right out of school and be a chaperone, man, and just to see him run around genuinely smiling and, you know, having his old big boy moments when, you know, certain kids come around and like, look at him, you know. So I'm extremely grateful to have him. And like I say, just the fact that, you know, my pops wasn't there, just being there, like he's pretty much going through a phase of trying out all the different sports. Like he just finished basketball, like we on baseball right now. I'm a former NFL player, so you would think that I'm just trying to push him into football, but no, I want whatever his heart desires. I want to make sure that I'm showing that I'm 100% behind him and just letting him know that, you know, essentially you may not be the best at whatever it is that you're doing, but if you give me your best, that'll take you far. That'll take you far, not just with me as your father, but in life. So, you know, I continue to go through different things as a human, as a father, as a husband, and I just try to make sure, you know, I have real conversations with him. You know, we have real dialogue. I may read him a quote sometimes and just say, what do you think that means? And he may go all the way left with it. He may go all the way left about what he's thinking, but, you know, I reel him back in and just let him know, you know, it's a principle behind almost everything, man. You know, just to be a nice, respectful kid. That's what everybody has to say about him. You know, he's such a great kid. I'm out there at the, like I said, at the school, and his friends go, "Hey, are you Stedman's dad?" Yes, I am. He's a great kid. He's a great friend. Like just little innocent kids, man. He's 8, 9 years old, and like, yeah, that's cool. You know, you're handling yourself well outside of the means of your home, man. That's all you ask for, you know, as a parent.
Man, I read somewhere where it said the best compliment that a parent can ever get is how someone compliments their kid.
Absolutely.
Man, you know, at the beginning, you know, we spoke about 3 things you're grateful for, man, and the first thing you said was life. And I don't think many people understand, if they aren't aware of your story, what that truly means, right? November 24th, 2015, man, your life was altered and impacted forever. And
yeah,
as I was reading the story, man, because when I heard the story, I had just finished college and I was on the circuit. But when I heard the story, man, the first thing that I said was, I'm just like, man, that has nothing but God written all over it. And I was trying to figure out, man, how how do we go about this part, because I want to tell the story, but it wouldn't do as much justice as it would if you did it, man. Walk me through that day for you, man, because nobody wakes up and expects something to happen to us, right? But there's a lot of things that's out of our control, man. But walk me through November 24th, 2015.
cool. No problem, bro. No problem. So as you know, very miraculous story, man. November 24th, one day before Thanksgiving. I'm here in Miami, Florida. Average day, you know, like you said, you wake up and you expecting that all will be well. You know, you go through your normal routine and return back home, get ready for the next day. That wasn't the case for me. It started off pretty cool. You know, I was home and I pretty much every time I'm home, actually down here in South Florida, I try to start my day with a nice workout, and that's what I did. Got a chance to get up and do that, and so the day was just rolling really smooth. Now, you know, you fast forward, and it's one day before Thanksgiving, so I'm making all these plans with my family to get ready to travel up to Georgia, where my mother lives.
Thinking about the turkey, thinking about the food.
Oh man, I know it's about to go down in terms of eating some good food. You know, I couldn't wait to actually get on the road, and it was probably going to take about 10 or more hours to actually get up to Atlanta, Georgia from down here in Miami. And so I got a chance to go get a rental car that day, and the day is still rolling smooth, man. It's rolling smooth, and I got my bags packed up. You know, wife is home, Junior's home, and at the time I had 3 of my cousins who were at the house, and they were getting ready to travel as well with us up to Georgia. And now this is when the day takes a turn. It's about 7 p.m., right?
Yeah.
And at the time it's dark outside, but you know, it's still a normal day. We get ready to go have some dinner, you know, just kind of enjoy the evening before we get ready to jump on the road within the wee hours of the night. And I have one of my friends who happened to be with me at the time also. So as we're we're going to go get dinner. We leave my house, and now we traveling. You know, we go to the area of Carol City. They call it Miami Gardens now. And I go to stop to my friend's house so he can go inside and just pretty much refresh so he can, you know, be ready to go have dinner also. Now, one thing I know about Miami Gardens, like I say, ever since I was a kid, I've seen a lot of different things. You know, drug dealers dealing drugs to different crackheads that were in the neighborhood, or, you know, just a lot of different things. Now, in this situation, there was a guy that stayed across the street from a boy who was a drug dealer. For the most part, anytime I'm home, I'm minding my business, you
Yeah.
know, go where I need to go and
Be in the crib after.
in and out, bro, in and out. And while I'm there, you know, sitting in front for my friend, I'm scrolling through my phone, probably on social media at the time. And I remember, you know, a car rolls up in the middle of the street. And I immediately just kind of looked over and thought like, oh, that car is probably for the guys across the street. It's probably a drug deal about to happen. Mind my business, you know, and just keep on scrolling through the phone. And before I knew it, I just heard what it was, a barrage of bullets just going off, man. I instantly was in Iraq somewhere, you know, some type of war zone where so many shots are being fired. And that's something that I'm used to also. I used to go to different parties and stuff that used to be
Yeah.
in outside settings. And believe it or not, it'll kind of end in gun violence. Somebody starts shooting in the air, and then everybody is just letting loose. So as I'm kind of listening to these shots going off, man, I just remember like thinking, wow, there's a shootout happening right across the street. Like, this is dangerous, you know? And then I remember the car driving off out of the middle of the street, and I'm just looking like, you know, I'm kind of confused at the moment, but I'm conscious. I'm confused, and I had not known that I had been shot twice in my head, bro. I'm shot twice in my head, and I'm conscious, and I'm just looking around, confused at what just took place. You know, I'm just trying to put together, like, you know, what just happened. So I remember looking in the back seat where my older cousin, who is the father of his 2 children, who were also in that car, he in the back just kind of frantic just about what just took place. And he was saying that he had been shot up. The first thing he actually said was, dang, cuz, these guys messed up our Thanksgiving. He had been shot 11 times, bro. And he was able to get out of the car and stand up and look at himself, dripping blood everywhere. And I remember looking back in the back seat, and I'm looking at his children, and they like, oh, Stead is dead. They talking about me, Stead is dead. So I'm like, you know, why would y'all be saying that? Once again, I'm not knowing. I got a big hole in my head from a bullet exiting. Why would y'all say this? You know, that's just kind of where I'm at with it mentally. And I turned back, and my cousin, who took the 11 shots, was able to come. Now he in the front, he's checking on me, and he said, dang, cuz, they shot you in the head. So now I'm looking at him like, what? No way, because I don't feel no pain, bro. And I'm not sure if it's adrenaline running or what have you, but to not feel no pain at all, like God was with me, you know. So now I'm looking at him, oh, you know, you've been shot. So I'm trying to pull down the sun visor, which has the, you know, the mirror there where I could look for myself, and he slaps it up and say, you know, don't look. So at that point, I remember looking down at my clothes and I see blood just, you know, flowing down my face. And at that point, I knew something was real. Now I got my friend, he pops up out of nowhere and he's just yelling because he's looking at me. He losing his mind at what he's seeing.
Yeah.
My cousin who got the 11, who was shot 11 times, he was able to keep it together and just kind of instruct my friend, hey, jump in this car, fire it up, and get us to the nearest hospital, which was about, give or take, about 10 to 15 minutes from where we were. He says, you know, run every light, don't stop. Even if the police get behind us, don't stop, you know, just get us there. And I remember riding, you know, we rushing to the hospital at this moment. And the only thing I could think about is this guy is not the best driver who's driving right now. So I'm actually, you know, I'm scared of
Crash.
a potential car crash.
Yeah.
Like that's the only thing I could think about. But we made it. We made it there. I actually was able to get out the car myself on my 2 feet and walk in the hospital in the emergency room, you know, just yelling, hey, I've been shot, you know, please help me. The nurses losing their mind. They going crazy because they see I got a real, you know, wound and my forehead was shattered. It probably was a really nasty scene from what they was looking at with me. And I remember, you know, they laid me down on a gurney and I'm just still feeling like I'm in a dream, like, wow, you know, this really happening right now. And you got the nurses and stuff saying, oh, we got to cut your clothes off. We got to, you know, we got to go into surgery. And I had just got some fresh threads, man. I had just went to shopping and I'm like, hey, you know, we could just take them off regular. You know, I think I'm still here. You mean we don't, they like, nah, we got to cut through. But this is where I'm at consciously, like I'm still here, you know, I'm nowhere near fading or anything. I'm just my natural funny self, man. Just, hey, you know, and come to find out, they don't have a trauma unit at Jackson North where we went. So
you had to travel.
They had to travel to, we had to go to another hospital, which was probably like another 5 minutes. They threw us on 2 different ambulance trucks and we made it. And I remember I'm in the back, I'm just kind of fatigued at the moment, like, man, it's just too much for me. So I remember asking one of the nurses, hey, can I go to sleep until we get where we're going? They're like, no, you got to stay up. I was like, oh, man.
Tired.
I'm really in a situation, bro. You know, but I'm just going for just, you know, I remember just thinking to myself, God, I know you with me. You know, I don't know what's going on right now, but God, you're with me. And, you know, we proceeded on, made it to the hospital. And then from there, I had to immediately go into surgery where essentially they had to repair my forehead, which was shattered. So first they cut my head open right here from ear to ear and brought my face forward like a mailbox door.
Man. Yeah.
And they had to cut different pieces of my skull, man. It was a bunch, man. But God was with me, man. He put the plastic surgeon and neurologist, I mean, the perfect team together to keep me here, man. So I keep in touch with those people to this day, bro. Like it was real, but I mean, everything about that situation, man, you know, I knew it was adversity. And then once I was able to have that surgery and be done, you know, I just knew that first and foremost, I got a long road, but I was like, man, I got to get back to the playing field. So my fuel, like everything that was within me, I was like, I can't be in the hospital too long. Like I got to go. I got somewhere I'm supposed to be. So from the recovery standpoint, what might have took the average person, you know, a couple years to get back to normal, man, I was back on the field in like half a year running 40. and competing, trying to get back into the position to play again. So, ultimately, I didn't make it back on the playing field, right? But what God took me through in terms of that situation, I know that is bigger than me, you know. Um, I think he showed me all he needed to show me just with the recovery. Like I'm back. I had lost like 30 pounds. Um, all my muscle weight was like I just was like a shrimp. All my clothes was falling off me, man. It was, but I knew that if God brought me to that situation, He'll give me everything I need to, get through. And the more I understand life, that there is no testimony without a test.
Mm. Mm.
And what, like I say, I know what I went through is so much bigger than me. I got a test that'll help serve and impact others. So I don't take my fate for granted at all. That I'm alive, and I'm doing well.
Yeah.
God is good. Like I say, God's grace, man. I'm thankful for it.
Stedman, man. Last question that I have, man. It's there are certain things that happen, man, and in your situation, bro, you on paper shouldn't be here. And to see how things played out for you to still be here right now, man, that is that is the definition of God has a plan for your life. But I also know that everything, the process that took you to get back to where you are today, because I'm sure doctors said you weren't supposed to walk, you probably weren't supposed to talk, you probably were supposed to have so many other things that you're not able to do today. But it's like, man, the mental battles and the mental strains are always still there. So how do you handle your mental struggles? Because every day isn't perfect, man. Unless we're a robot 365 days out the year, we're bound to have some days where we're just like, man, I just don't have it today. But for you, how do you tackle and handle those days? And what is something that you would share of advice to the audience who may be going through their own mental struggles, man?
Well, I actually, came up with my own personal brand, bro. Positive energy, that represents having healthy ideas about oneself while encouraging those around you, while celebrating your own individual style. So, healthy ideas about oneself, positive affirmations. I am blessed. I am loved. I understand. If I am having a day where I'm going through a moment, I got to revert back to my affirmations.
Mm.
I really do. And then, of course, at least for me, just having strong support system with my wife, my son. They do a lot for me. But I just really try to keep my focus on the bigger picture, and at least within my life is that as long as I'm still breathing, I can make some type of change, and I'm consistently encouraged by that. So, if you're able to wake up and have healthy ideas about yourself, that should really start you out on the right foot. And energy is contagious. So you should be able to encourage people around you, and then celebrating your own individual style. We all come from different walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I see, there's too many copycats already in the world. So
Yeah.
be you, because God has a plan for each and every one of us. And if you copying somebody else, you might miss your home blessing.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
uh that's my mantra, man. I just keep going. I keep going and just think about that. Healthy ideas. I'm moving into the speaking space. I start to have positive affirmations about that. I will have 10 speaking gigs this month. I will just put it in the atmosphere, all positive stuff. And I know it's probably easier said than done, but You know, if I can give any advice, you know, just even if you put you up some positive affirmations within your room, but also just make sure you take a moment to grieve or, you know, whatever emotions that you may be feeling. I mean, it's definitely okay to have emotions because we are humans, like you say. So,
Yeah. Yeah. You know, man, it's you just said affirmations, and you know the scripture that always comes to mind when I read it when I was young. You know, life and death is in the power of the tongue, and so you know, but also the things that you don't say to yourself are still impactful as well too. But Stedman, man, bro, I appreciate your time, man. This was great. I know we're all gonna get a lot from it. I got a lot from it, man. I had goosebumps just listening to your story, even though I already heard it before. But to hear it from you, man, what's
yeah, man,
what's the
I was just gonna say, you know, it's within my life's calling, man, to continue to share that story, you know, because as deep as mine is, you know, I know it's other people that's still going through far worse. And, you know, if they can find motivation from me, you know, I went from saying why me to why not me. You
Mhm.
know, I think God gave me the platform to make it to the NFL level, to be able to reach out to the masses, you know, like I'm able to and have an impact like I do. So I'm just gonna continue to chase, you know, just continue to chase my purpose.
What's the best way for people to keep in touch with you, man? What platform are you on the most?
Uh, I guess Instagram. You know, I got to really get a little more active in terms of just really uploading content, man. I just kind of been trying to find my niche. But it's great talking to you, and you know, I really love what you're doing for the world, man. You know, I get a lot of motivation from just getting a chance to see, you know, what you're talking about on a day-to-day basis in terms of putting messages into perspective. You know, they're always needed, bro. So I just want to encourage you and also just thank you for what you do.
Appreciate
I look up to it, bro, and you know, I'm gonna be trying to do the same.
appreciate you, man. Man, I appreciate your time, bro. Thanks again.
Likewise, man. Thanks for having me on, bro. Truly, man. Any way I can help you, man. You know, we reach out, bro. I'm here.
Appreciate you, man.
Enjoy your weekend.